Sports News here on CW57. My name is Ryan Ashker, and here are this week's headlines. Three-time NFL MVP Brett Favre will be returning to football, if even for just one day. The future Hall of Famer will be playing a flag football game at Camp Randall on July 19th, the day after he's inducted to the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame. The game will be played in Madison due to Lambeau Field turning down an offer to host the game in an effort to prevent unnecessary wear on the field, so it's in peak condition for the upcoming NFL season. The initial plan is to have Favre team with several former Packers teammates and play against several former NFL opponents. Participating players will be announced later this month. The University of Wisconsin-Whitewater's Mikel Pierce has been named to the 2015 Capital One NCAA Division III Academic All-District Baseball First Team, which was selected by the College Sports Information Directors of America. The 11-member team includes NCAA Division III student athletes from Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Pierce, a senior from De Pere who owns a 3.44 GPA and is majoring in general business. This marks the fourth consecutive year that the WIAC has landed an individual on the squad. Pierce is eligible for the Academic All-American Award that will be announced later this month. Middleton girls soccer remains unbeaten on the season after a hard-fought game against conference rival Madison Memorial, despite an impressive showing from Memorial goalkeeper Sydney Stroud. Middleton finally got on the board when senior Maddie Warner took a pass from Grace Douglas and struck a shot that deflected off of Stroud at the 60-minute and 55-second mark in the second half. The goal proved to be the difference in the game as the Cardinals took the win 1-0. 16 senior girls and 16 senior boys were awarded the WIA Scholar Athlete Award at a presentation in Wausau. The award is underwritten by the Marshfield Clinic. 18 of the 32 finalists hold a 4.0 GPA, with the average of all 32 being at 3.9. This is in addition to the athletes averaging 9 varsity letters in their first 3.5 years of high school. That's a total of 301 varsity letters for all 32 recipients. Over 800 students were nominated for the award by over 400 schools in Wisconsin. Local winners include Olin Hacker of Madison West, Ariana Opsel of DeForest, Meredith Gallagher of Lodi, Sam Schumacher of Whitewater, and Taylor Stanek of Dodgeville. University of Wisconsin-Whitewater's Megan Humphreys has been selected to compete in the NCAA Division III Women's Tennis Individual Championship in Mason, Ohio. Humphreys is 27-7 in singles play this season and is also ranked 4th in the region by the Intercollegiate Tennis Association. The individual championship consists of 32 single players and 16 doubles teams. The selection of teams and individuals, the championships are based on win-loss record, strength of schedule, and eligibility and availability of the student athletes. We'll be right back with more of the sports news after this. Hello and welcome back to the sports news. Right now I'm joined by a good friend of mine, former teammate with the Madison Mustangs, LaRon Ragsdale, who's now running Why Not Us. LaRon, thanks for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about Why Not Us, WNU? What is it exactly?
We're in a second year of operation. We are a non-for-profit sports-based organization that works with 2nd grade to 6th graders and 7th to 12th graders.
Okay. So in Madison, an area like this, why is an organization like Why Not Us needed?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, if we can go into some quick numbers really quick, out of 8 million students participating in sports today, less than 1% of those athletes are even attending a college. So it's definitely a need for organization as such. Also with the obesity rates skyrocketing, so they are today, we definitely need some physical activity for those kids as well.
So doing a lot of good. And with all the other youth programs and youth activities, what makes you guys different? What do you do differently for these student athletes?
Yeah, so what we want to do is we want to bring a little bit a different spin to it. We want to incorporate college students into our organization. So every person that's working with us is intern-based or work-study-based to our organization to gain college credits. So we want to make it a full circle approach. So we're approaching the kids, the youth that we're trying to serve, as well as bringing them back in on a college basis.
So advantages for everyone involved there.
Correct.
With that, you said you're in your 2nd year. What are some of the accomplishments that you guys have achieved so far?
Well, so far we have done a couple events, pretty much been adult-based, but we had a Flag the Night tournament. That was an overnight tournament. We have had another event that was a Stake Your Claim tournament. It was a during the day flag football tournament. We've also been involved in different collaborations with other organizations.
And those have been very successful events too. I've actually participated with you in both of them, and they've been a great time for everyone involved and a lot of money raised to help that out as well. Touching on those, what kind of future events do you guys have planned?
Well, coming up, we do have something planned with out in Sun Prairie. with Cottrell Robinson and the Delta Honor Society. We're going to do a flag kind of camps there while they run a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. And while we're there, we're going to pass out information along with upcoming camps for the younger group and different flag leagues for the older group.
And what age range are you going to be working with?
Again, we're going to work with 2nd to 6th graders. They're basically for camps. 7th through 12th grader are going to be league-based and career-focused.
Fantastic. And really quick, what is the long-term goal, or what is the goal of the Why Not Us organization?
Overall goal of us is just to achieve at least one person, just to change something in their lives. If it's change how they approach school, how they approach career, how they approach their family issues. We just want to make one change in one person's life that comes through our doors.
Great cause, great events. I encourage all of you to check it out. Why Not Us? They're on Facebook, they're online. LaRon, thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
LaRon Ragsdale with Why Not Us. We'll be right back with more of the sports news right after this. Hello and welcome back to Sports News. Right now I'm joined by Dr. Marcia Schaefer of Spring Creek Chiropractic. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Something we're going to talk about, very important, chiropractic care for young athletes. Can you tell us, why should younger athletes, student athletes, use a chiropractor?
Well, a lot of kids are starting sports a lot younger. I have a 4-year-old who's just starting t-ball. And chiropractic care, our entire mission is to help with that spine and nervous system. And I mean, look at the pros. We have pros have chiropractors, and they're obviously starting at young ages. Mm-hmm. So we get to make sure that during that really, really important developmental time, we get to work with those kids and make sure that their spines and nervous systems are functioning for better performance.
And as you said, tying that into better performance, what is some of the research or things you found behind the benefits of chiropractic care for youth athletes?
One of the studies was showing with baseball players. They were actually showing capillary refill. So when you squeeze the finger and the capillary refill comes back, that was actually significantly better in the kids that were under chiropractic care. Another showed reaction time was 30% faster in kids under 12 weeks of chiropractic care. So obviously form and function, they're just improving, and they're making their sports that much better.
It's very interesting that stuff kind of ties together. With some of the injuries you see, what are more of the common injuries that you'd see in young student athletes?
Well, it's really interesting, the contact versus non-contact. You know, overall, majority we're seeing mid-neck, and that's going to be a whiplash, so your football, your hockey, that kind of stuff. But then we see a lot of things in the low back and pelvis as well. You know, soccer, if you're falling, or in gymnastics, any of those other sports, it can also cause a lot of those problems too.
And as you mentioned, it's not just the contact sports that are injuring students, it's kind of all around the board depending on what's needed and what gets hit and what gets hurt. What sports are maybe more dangerous to some of the parents watching, and what can really be injured from those sports?
Well, football, hockey, and wrestling are 3 of our major contact sports that I see the most pediatric or most athletes with, but also swimming, dance, and gymnastics. Surprisingly enough, we're seeing a lot of injuries and sprains. I mean, ankles and shoulders, they need adjustments too, not just the spine.
Interesting, some of those you wouldn't even think of either. And you mentioned we're starting athletics younger and younger with our kids. What age could you or another chiropractor start working on these athletes?
Oh, I see infants a couple hours old. So we start from the very beginning, and I'd love to see them through their sport years.
Fantastic. Dr. Marcia Schaefer, we want to thank you very much for coming in and giving us some great insight on how we can take care of our student athletes better.
Thank you.
Dr. Marcia Schaefer, Spring Creek Chiropractic. We'll be right back with more of the sports news right after this. Hello and welcome back to the sports news. Right now I'm joined by Brad D'Orazio, Verona baseball coach. Brad, thanks for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about the season so far. How is the Verona team doing?
We started off 5-0, got off to a fast start, then we lost a few in a row. Now we're back to 9-6 overall and 6-4 in Big 8 conference play.
Well, with an above 500 record, successful year so far. What are some of the reasons for the team's success?
I would say the biggest reason has been our pitching. We've got an outstanding pitching and played pretty good defense and come up with some clutch hits when we needed to. In the games we've lost, we haven't hit quite as well, so we're continuing to work on that.
You mentioned your pitching and some big hits coming up at vital times. Who are some of your biggest contributors at Verona this year?
On the mound, Keaton Knippel's a junior. He's a Gonzaga recruit, and he's been fantastic for us. Jake Tolman is a senior right-hander that's also been throwing very well. And Ben Rortvedt is a catcher. He's an Arkansas recruit. He's a junior as well, and he's really been leading the offense for us.
Fantastic. A lot of big schools named there for your kids. Last year, you guys lost in the sectional finals. Did that have a positive effect on your team going into this year, make the kids want to work a little bit harder, or how did that whole thing play out?
I think it did. We were very close to making it to the state tournament, and I think it really helped the guys in the offseason, give them a lot of motivation to keep working hard and to know that they can get there, and now they've got to take the next step.
With that, when you're putting everything together and obviously consoling the kids after the loss and wanting them to be prepared for this year, what about the rest of your coaching staff? What's some input they put in? How do they help you out to do your job better as the Verona coach?
We met this offseason and spent more time preparing than we have in the past and really tried to come up with a game plan from start to finish. And I owe a lot of credit to all my assistant coaches. Brad Crandall, Tony Bertucci, Justin Scanlon, and Alex Sheeky have done an outstanding job with this year's team. And I don't think we'd be doing as well if it weren't for all their efforts.
Fantastic. And you mentioned you had several players that are already being looked at from some bigger schools. Can you give us maybe some more or just recap some of the players' plans for next season after this year concludes?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Jake Tolman, who I'd mentioned earlier, who's throwing real well for us on the mound, is going to play basketball at Loras College. So we've got some multiple sport athletes that have been helping us out. Connor Volker's a senior, and he's been doing very well for us on the mound and in the field. And we've gotten great contributions from David Rogowski at shortstop. Stephen Lund's a freshman that's had a big impact on our team as well. Sam Favor's been in center field. Brody Rohrig is a state champion hockey player that's been manning first base for us. And we've gotten contributions from everyone up and down the lineup.
Fantastic. And very quickly, I understand you had a couple big D1 recruits. Can you go over those in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. In the past, we've had some guys that have played Division I. One of our coaches, Justin Scanlon, that's on staff now, graduated in 2008, played 2 years at Michigan State. And one of our former players is a senior this year at Northern Illinois University named Ben Newman, and he's the ace of that staff.
Fantastic. Brad, thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Brad D'Orazio, Verona baseball coach. We'll be right back with more of the sports news after this. Hello and welcome back to the Sports News. Right now I'm joined by two great Madison Memorial athletes, Henry Howden and Natalie Stats. Folks, thanks for joining me here today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yep.
Natalie, I want to start with you. You achieved 9 letters so far. How do you manage your athletics and your academics?
It was a challenge at first, but I just got in a routine, and after practice I'd go home and eat and then do my homework and sleep, and it's not that bad.
Busy life, but you've achieved quite a bit. Congratulations. Henry, want to touch on, you're going to be playing at Wisconsin next year. Talked a little bit about you before you went on. We're going to be playing a little bit of receiver probably, you think, so far. What advantages came with being a multi-sport athlete, and how did that lead you to become a Badger?
Playing for a different coach helped a lot. Playing in a new practice style, seeing how different coaches did different things, playing with new players, building relationships, it all helps the process, and also staying in shape helps a lot and working out with the guys. So I think that was a big part of it, and also intangibles like feet quickness and stuff like that.
Fantastic. Now, for both of you, what was the driving force behind the success on and off the field? Because both of you have been very good students in the classroom and as well great athletes on the field.
I knew that if I wanted to stay competing, I had to do well in school. So there just wasn't any other option than to get good grades.
I think Memorial kind of implemented it into our minds right away that it's student athletes, so we knew we had to do well in the class before we went out on the field. You have to remain eligible, obviously, but we want to do more than that. We knew that college was going to come sooner than later, and so we wanted to set ourselves up to be successful for that first.
And as you mentioned, Memorial kind of instilled that in you guys. That was student first, athlete second. So what does it mean to represent a school like that, to represent Madison Memorial as a scholar athlete?
To me, it was a big honor, and it just shows that you can still be an athlete as well as a good student.
It means a lot because there are a lot of great student athletes at Memorial, and we know a lot of them, and a lot of them are our friends. So it just feels good representing them and the rest of the staff and faculty there.
And as you two are reaching kind of the apex of your high school career, what's something you might miss most about Madison Memorial?
I'll miss the teachers and my coaches. I've had good relationships with a lot of them, so they've influenced me a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I also miss playing with a lot of the guys I grew up with. It's a big part of high school sports is playing with the guys you've been playing with since you've been 5 years old. Grew up with these guys, so I'll miss that a lot too.
And really quickly, would you guys have a favorite memory of the past season, or maybe something that took place in school that you can leave with us?
For me, it was probably making it to state this year in gymnastics as a team because we didn't know if we could do it, but we ended up going.
Mine was probably between winning conference back-to-back for basketball or my junior year beating Verona for the first time in school history. That was pretty cool.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with everything you guys have going on coming up next. Henry, Natalie, thank you two very much for being here.
Thank you.
Henry Howden and Natalie Statz of Madison Memorial will be right back for more of the sports news after this. Hello and welcome back to the sports news. Right now I'm joined by Craig Amaker of Fontana Sports. Craig, thanks for joining us here today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me here today.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the events? Fontana has a lot of events coming up as we get into spring and summer here. Fill us in on what's going on.
Oh, we have a wide variety of events coming up this spring. One of the big ones is the Headlamp Hustle that's going to happen later this month in May. That is a nighttime trail run / walk to raise money for the Ice Age Trail Alliance to help maintain and build parts of that trail. Other events we have going on are kayak demos and classes, and also fly casting and fly fishing schools. And we just had Cinco de Fido on Tuesday to raise money for Dane County Humane Society. And right now, till the 17th of May, we're going to have the tent sale. That's the Big Top out in the parking lot at our West Side location. So lots of stuff going on for spring.
And Fontana does a lot of events, clinics, and fundraisers being a part of the community. You mentioned the Headlamp Hustle. What's kind of the motivation behind doing some of these events to raise money?
Well, basically being that we're part of the community in a local store, it's our way of, one, giving back to the community, and two, if we don't have, good hiking trails, good clean lakes and rivers to paddle in or fish in, or rock to climb on, or areas with good public access, we're not around. So this helps us maintain the resource that we make our living off of.
Understandable. That's something a lot of people, including myself, enjoy here, especially in the Madison area. What other kind of groups, charities does Fontana work with some of these events?
We work with Southern Wisconsin Chapter of Trout Unlimited, the Dane County Natural Heritage Foundation and Land Trust that our store owner was executive director of for many years. That's John Hutchinson. And the River Alliance of Wisconsin. And of course, again, the Ice Age Trail.
Fantastic. And just want to touch on that Headlamp Hustle. Where can people get signed up for that, and what is the date?
They can go to our website at fontanasports.com. The date is May 22nd at 7:30 p.m. At the Table Bluff section of the Ice Age Trail.
That sounds fantastic. Craig, thanks for joining us here today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Craig Amaker of Fontana Sports. We'll be right back with more of the sports news after this. Hello and welcome back to the sports news. Right now I'm joined by Dr. Christina Navarro and Michael Salm of UW-Whitewater. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
And you guys started or are working with the Warhawk Leadership Camp. What was the motivation behind that? Can you give us some insight that what led to it?
Sure. So really this has been a joint effort between our Department of Athletics, our Chancellor's Office, many of our campus organizations, first year experience, learning communities, to really engage our students across campus. engage them nationally, globally, Student Athlete Advisory Committee, Warhawk Leadership Academy, kind of in tandem efforts.
And with the academy, what are the main goals? What maybe long-term effects are you hoping you can achieve through this?
The two main goals of the Warhawk Leadership Academy are first and foremost, Rising Warhawk Development, or it's a program to help our freshmen
Grow and develop as
grow
they
and
move
develop,
through.
yes, and incorporate them into the campus life here as student athletes. And then secondly, to help our veteran Warhawks adapt to the professional world and help them with professional development and career development as they're moving on to life after athletics.
So basically helping out a lot of the student athletes that might not just have the cut, plain and dry sort of college career. As you mentioned, you're working with student athletes and veterans. How does it enhance the student athlete experience or the experience for some of the veteran students?
Sure, so really, like Michael was saying, we've divided the student athletes into veteran Warhawks and rising Warhawks. Rising Warhawks are all of our freshmen incoming that's focused more on the onboarding into college and what it means to be a student athlete. And then on the other side, veteran Warhawks is more focused on your own personal development, so that life after athletics. Division III, we have some individuals who do go for professional at UW-Whitewater, but the majority do not. So what do they do in life after athletics? That's a big focus of our training. So different pillars include social responsibility, life after athletics, and leadership development.
And with that, finding the students, working with the students, what is the development and implementation of the program?
The majority of the development of this program was actually done by our athletic director, Amy Edmonds, and Christina Navarro right here, our director of student athlete engagement on campus. And then luckily for us, the executive board of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee got to help with the pilot group that we have here that got to run a test run this spring semester.
Fantastic. And Whitewater already has a great athletic program. How will this program differentiate UW-Whitewater as a leader in athletics furthermore?
Go ahead.
Sure, so really we're looking at this in terms of Warhawk Athletics functions as a mini Division I athletic department in many roles. So with this, it's typically found in a Division I setting, but with the success of our athletes, they're on a national stage, not just a regional stage. So really trying to enhance how they can give back to the community, the region, and the national stage, and help them with lots of aspects on how they can socially integrate themselves into the campus environment. So with this, we really see it as a way to be a pioneer for Division III athletics.
Fantastic. Dr. Christina Navarro and Michael Sohm, want to thank you very much for joining us here on the Sports News today.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
As I said, that is Dr. Christina Navarro and Michael Sohm of UW-Whitewater. Want to thank all of you for tuning in to the Sports News this week. My name is Ryan Ashker, and we're getting you in the game.